All signs point to this as we have a massive new update that has just dropped surrounding one player in particular that not only reveals the Jays' next move, but gives some huge insight as to their plans this offseason following the huge signing of Dylan Cease. We're going to break down exactly what this report is and discuss what it means going forward as well as a ton of other updates on this episode, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get into it all, quick reminder, hit that subscribe button. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of us didn't expect, myself included, for the Jays to be as active as they have been this early. Of course, we're still in November as of the time of recording here, and the winter meetings are just around the corner, and there's a bit of a calm before the storm, but a new report has dropped revealing the Jays' next move. We've covered, a lot of different reports here on the channel. We're going to dive into one from Jon Heyman in a minute, but I want to start with this one from Shi Davidi. We're going to go over a few different things, but after, looking at a bunch of the new reports, whether that be from last night into this morning, and even from when they signed Cease a few days ago, one thing is clear. The Blue Jays have also engaged right now in back-end relievers seeking to further bolster their bullpen and remain in pursuit of Bichette. Pitching, however, was their top priority, and Cease strengthens them in a major way. If you've been following my videos the past few days, I've covered not this report in particular, I don't think, but a bunch of other reports revealing that, of course, they aren't done for Kyle Tucker. They aren't done for Bichette. But lost in all that is all signs point to them making their next move being a reliever. And this is from Shi Davidi, again, engaged in back-end relievers to further bolster their bullpen. And you think back to this from a few days ago from Jon Heyman, and this was also lost in everything because we're also excited about the Dylan Cease signing. The Jays are clearly the favorites, not only for Edwin Diaz, but to just land a top-end reliever. And I keep making it clear to you guys, and it seems the way that is going. I said before the Cease signing, the first move is going to be a starting pitcher. The next move is going to be a reliever, you would have to assume, right? Because the Bichette market's going to take a bit of time to develop. The Kyle Tucker market's going to take a bit of time to develop. And you can see here, while the deep-pocketed Dodgers don't appear anxious to commit the dollars to lure Edwin Diaz, the Jays are emerging as an attractive next choice. And of course, this was a new report that dropped right before, I believe, the Dylan Cease signing. And of course, since then, the Jays have been heavily linked to Edwin Diaz. And that's where things get interesting. We're going to dive into a bunch of different things, but let's quickly go through this Keegan Matheson report. I briefly covered this one yesterday. Beyond the need for one big bat, which we're not covering today, we covered that yesterday, the Blue Jays bullpen remains the logical next step, and they are expected to ramp up those talks as the relief market unfolds at the winter meetings. Now, we didn't cover this in yesterday's video. This part is crucial. Now, of course, I mentioned yesterday and even the past few days, there's been a lot of reports about how they're aiming higher, the Jays. It's crucial here that Keegan is reporting they're going to ramp up those talks as the relief market unfolds at the winter meetings. And that's where things get interesting. So, of course, the winter meetings are in a week and a half, a couple weeks. That's where things are a bit less than a couple weeks, actually. That's where things are going to really pick up, right? And whether it be Edwin Diaz, whether it be whoever, there hasn't been many teams involved in specifically Mr. Diaz. And I want to dive back into him again because it seems like the most obvious choice here. And we'll have full videos covering some of the other guys. And within this video, I'll dive into some of the targets that are available. But all signs point to them going after this specific reliever and willing to pay a lot of money for it. Now, he's one of the best relievers in baseball. And there's always the argument to be made, should Ross Atkins, sign Edwin Diaz? He's an absolute beast, but is it worth spending $100 million on a reliever? He's going to cost whatever it is, 4 years, 102, 5 years, 102. It's going to be a crazy amount, but you just spent so much on Dylan Cease. Do they internally, value what Edwin Diaz brings? A lot? You have to, right? And we think back to what Ross Atkins said following the World Series collapse, or I guess the World Series loss, not really collapse. He said that they are not married to the idea, and Jeff Hoffman isn't even married to the idea of him being the closer. You bring Diaz in, the team gets insanely better. And let's go through all of the relief pitchers that are available as of now, because there is a lot of them, and this will be their next move, we assume. Diaz is absolutely, keep in mind the number on the right, I believe, is their WAR value. I'm not exactly sure it's F WAR or B WAR, but regardless, it's their WAR value, so wins above replacement. Diaz leads the list. He's 32, $3.1 million, which means a 4-year contract taking him into his age 36 season. Some of the other guys, Ryan Helsley, the Jays have been heavily involved in Ryan Helsley talks, whether that be at the trade deadline with the Cardinals way back, whether that be in free agency. They've always been involved with that. And the big question mark remains, hey, they clearly got their guy in Dylan Cease, right? And we know it was an aggressive contract. The expectations of World Series. They got their guy in Dylan Cease. What's next? Do they have another guy, air quotes? Is it Ryan Helsley, who they'll pay $2 or $3 million more than maybe some of the other teams? Clearly for Cease, it was, hey, this is our number if you want to get it done now. If not, we'll explore elsewhere with many other teams being interested. I'm sure including the Dodgers and others. And the Jays said, screw it, we'll do it. Are they going to take the same approach for the bullpen? There's a lot of other guys that are available. Me personally, I would love Devin Williams. Yes, he had a bad year last year. Prior to that, he was one of, if not the best reliever in baseball a couple of years ago. So that guy is a huge ceiling. Sean Armstrong, an interesting one. Kenley Jansen, a bit older. It gets a little bit worse as you go down. I could see the Jays being interested in Pete Fairbanks. The Jays have been linked to him by John Morosi multiple times. Of course, Phil Maton was signed. Raisel Iglesias, who the Jays had severe interest in, was signed. There's a lot of relievers available. Not a lot of them are going to get paid a ton. Diaz at the very top of the list. If the Jays want to show that they're real players and that the new expectation is the World Series, go get the best reliever we've seen in the past decade in Edwin Diaz, maybe outside of a couple other guys, including Emmanuel Clase, who's now suspended for life. So it's clear they're going in, and they're going to ramp them up soon. Now, a new report dropped as well from Mitch Bannon, revealing that Devin Williams, Edwin Diaz, Pete Fairbanks, or Robert Suarez could be signed by the Toronto Blue Jays to pair with closer Jeff Hoffman. And Hoffman struggled mightily in his first season in Toronto. And I'm not even going to bring back up the Miguel Rojas one, but you can see here again, I mean, you have Devin Williams, Edwin Diaz, like Pete Fairbanks, Robert Suarez, they're all beasts. They're all fantastic. And with incumbent closer Jeff Hoffman there, it's a funny word to use, they could really elevate this team. Now let's look at their bullpen. You can see it there. Jeff Hoffman, Jimmy Garcia, who again signed that 2-year, $15 million deal last offseason. He's under contract this year. He's an elite arm. Louis Verland, Braden Fisher. They do need one more back-end guy. Can you rely on Louis Verland to be an elite reliever? I think so, but like, picture it. If you get of course, if you get Edwin Diaz, you move everyone down. Diaz, Hoffman, Garcia, Verland. That four is absolutely ludicrous. Then you have Braden Fisher, who's really good. You have, maybe a bounce back from Yariel Rodriguez. You have some other guys that you can get. You need to make this, one more move. Just like you need another bat, you just as badly need another reliever, just like they just as badly needed one more starter, and they got him in Dylan Cease early. We know they're linked to Kyle Tucker. Could they bring Chris Bassett back and have him as a sixth starter / bullpen role? Maybe. But you can see here again from John Heyman, they're a serious player for Edwin Diaz and Robert Suarez. Every report links to this, and all signs ultimately are pointing to the Jays being all in on Mr. Diaz. So it's going to be a crazy next few weeks. I mean, Ryan Helsley himself, he would be neat, a 4.5 ERA, but prior to that, last year was really, really good before his time with the Mets. He's someone who throws absolute gas. I would love to have him in the bullpen. Keep an eye out for him because it seems that Ross Atkins is going after some of the guys that he had prior interest in, and this is going to be one of them. So a lot of different variables, a lot of different things happening, but all signs point to their next move being a reliever. Let me know down below what your thoughts are on this. Your guys' support's been unbelievable as moves drop. Again, whether I'm at my basketball game, whether I'm anywhere, I will be the first one on it. So this is the place to be. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let me know down below the reliever of your choice from the list I gave. Thank you guys for watching. You guys are beasts. Cheers.